A man wanted to take his wife to a resort for some excitement, but their 3-year-old daughter mysteriously disappeared from their room. After searching for an hour without success, his wife, Panna, was devastated and wanted to call the police. However, her husband's expression changed drastically upon hearing this, and he stopped everyone identify her. Even stranger, her mother, Panna, didn't have a single photo of her daughter on her phone. Sut panicked, asking, "If you don't have any recent photos, what about older ones?" But Panna, still avoiding his gaze, retorted, "Why don't you just tell people what she looks like? This is a complete tragedy. This father doesn't even know what his 3-year-old daughter looks like. Normally, such a father doesn't deserve to be called a human being. But if this happened in an Indian movie, there would definitely be a shocking plot twist." Hello sisters, it's still the Boxing King's first release. Today I'm talking about the Indian masterpiece, One Step Away, a suspenseful thriller that lets you guess from beginning to end, but always gets it wrong. Friendly reminder, the plot has a long setup, but the twist will definitely make your jaw drop. The story, however, throughout the entire argument, the director never shows the wife in the bedroom. Soon the couple arrived in Mauritius by boat and checked into a high-end hotel late at night. After settling into their room, Panna comforted her feverish daughter, Titli Sutter, saying that the restaurant was closed and she was going out to find something to eat. She asked if she needed anything, but Panna only told her to bring back some warm milk. After Sutter left, Panna tried to coax her daughter to sleep. Perhaps because of the fever, 3-year-old Titli cried incessantly. Around 2 a.m., the front desk received a complaint call from someone who said they couldn't sleep because of their child's crying at 8 this moment. A man appeared suspiciously outside Panna's door. To determine which room the crying was coming from, the crew-cut man pressed his face against the door, carefully identifying the source of the crying, and occasionally glancing behind him with a very strange expression. After a while, the female receptionist rushed over. When questioned, the crew-cut man stammered, explaining that a child was crying, and he just wanted to make sure everything was all right. After the crew-cut man left, the receptionist knocked on Panna's door. Faced with the complaint, Panna's first reaction wasn't to apologize, but rather to be puzzled as to how her child's crying could disturb others. Clearly, she was a very loving mother, even finding her child's cries idyllic. After confirming the child was asleep, the receptionist gave a few instructions and turned to leave. However, on her way downstairs, she bumped into Sut, who was returning. A small card slipped from his pocket and fell to the ground. The receptionist saw its contents. Instead of being embarrassed, Sut smiled and struck up a conversation with the other person. Even after the person had walked away, his gaze remained fixed on their back. On the other side, the crew-cut man was playing with scissors. After placing 2 little girls' clothes on the table, he started playing with a doll with a smug look on his face. Upstairs, Panna was finally broke down and suggested calling the police, but Sut tried desperately to stop her, promising to find her daughter within 30 minutes. However, when Sut asked Panna for a photo of her daughter, a suffocating truth was revealed. Panna couldn't produce a photo. Sutter couldn't describe his daughter's appearance because they weren't husband and wife at all. They had only met yesterday afternoon. Guided by the crew, Sutter dragged his luggage towards his reserve compartment. But as he entered, Panna stopped him. After a brief conversation, Sutter was surprised to find that his compartment mate was a beautiful young woman with a child. Sutter immediately became attentive and politely invited her to come in. Actually, Panna had already checked in. She had just returned from an outing. "My wife is at home. We have eyes here. If you don't mind, you can sit there." 6 minutes and 24 seconds. Panna apologized for taking up the bed, and Sut was generous and considerate. Under her guidance, the awkwardness was quickly broken. Panna said that her daughter's name was Titli, and she would be 3 years old next week. Sut took the opportunity to lie and say that she had a 5-year-old son, and even joked that Titli would be closer to her father when she grew up. Unexpectedly, Sutter found a large amount of medicine and a gleaming kitchen knife in her bag. At that moment, Sutter never imagined that this kitchen knife would ultimately be used on herself. "How did it get in your bag?" "It was in your bag." Panna continued to confide that her husband had wanted a divorce, but she refused. Later, her husband stopped mentioning it, and she thought he had changed his mind. Until one day, her husband brought home 2 huge insurance policies, one for their daughter and one for her. As for the reason for buying the insurance, her husband said that Panna and their daughter were the most important people to him. But Panna felt that this reason was too far-fetched. Whether it was lust or overflowing sympathy, Sut invited Panna and her daughter to his booked resort, claiming it was very safe. Panna, on the other hand, agreed without the slightest hesitation. For this beautiful encounter, Sut was about to pay the price with his life. On the boat, he indeed did not see Panna's daughter's face. Hannah finally saw through such true colors. He wasn't a kind person at all, but a con man who fell for a woman. She broke down and cried. Sut rushed over to comfort her and asked him to give her some more time. After saying that, he turned around and rushed out to find Titli. At this moment, the director once again interspersed flashbacks. Suddenly, the sound of a fierce argument rang in Sut's mind, and the scene cut back to before he went on his business trip. The scene of arguing with his wife Camilla at home. This time, his wife finally left the country. Obviously, Sut had once again persuaded his wife with his words to go on his business trip. Now, in order to cover up this absurd discount, he must help Hannah find her daughter. He ran to the front desk and saw the staff still in Manchester checking in new guests. Sut instantly flew into a rage. "My daughter is missing, and you're still busy with this?" During the argument, the resort manager hurriedly came to smooth things over. To calm his anger, the manager skillfully described Titli's characteristics and assured him that they took it very seriously and had already sent people to look for her. The child must be in the resort. It's just too big here. Before she could finish speaking, the receptionist interrupted her, saying she had received and was carrying his luggage and preparing to leave. Upon seeing the police car, his expression froze instantly, as if he had guessed why the police had come. The team leader was a detective nicknamed Mr. 100% because his case-solving rate was 100% and he had never failed. After arranging for the officers to check the surveillance footage and verify the personnel list, the manager led him to Hannah's room. This detective was indeed astute. After hearing about the disappearance, he immediately asked what time you checked in. Upon learning it was 1 a.m., he suddenly demanded to see your boat tickets. This revealed a problem. The two tickets had different purchase dates. Sut claimed his ticket was booked by his company, while Hannah said his was bought before boarding. The detective's eyes widened. He said, "The tickets have different issuance dates," but only explained, "Our company has a large volume of business, and we often travel for work. We have some special channels for booking tickets and hotels." The detective gave her a deep look. Remembered the crew cut man because he had said he was looking for Titli, and she had also heard Titli crying. The director immediately focused the camera on the crew cut man, who was walking towards a little girl with balloons. The girl was surrounded by various gifts, and the crew cut man seemed to like her very much. He then took the girl to buy a lot of delicious food and acted very gently. Meanwhile, the police officers reviewing the surveillance footage also noticed that the crew cut man did indeed appear suspiciously outside Hannah's door at around 2 a.m. when the police officers wanted to search his room. They were told that the man with the buzz cut had just checked out and had taken 2 bags with him when he left at this moment. The crew cut man was sitting in the restaurant with the little girl. The waiter had just brought the ice cream and turned to leave when he looked up and saw a picture of the crew cut man on the TV news screen. His reddened as he said, "I heard a child crying in the middle of the night, and I couldn't control myself. The crying sounded so much like my daughter's. I was afraid that the child was alone and no one was taking care of her." A misunderstanding revealed a heartbreak, but the real mystery had only just begun to emerge. Since there was no photo of Titli, the detective found a portrait artist. Sutter had to describe the child's appearance, but he had never seen Titli. However, he still didn't reveal the truth. He braced himself and began to imagine based on Hannah's appearance. When Sutter finished, 2 other officers brought Hannah's description. The artist then drew another picture based on Hannah's description. But when the 2 portraits were placed in front of the detective, his eyes changed drastically. One portrait resembled Hannah, but the other was completely unfamiliar. Clearly, the 2 descriptions were not of the same child. Sutter felt a chill run down his spine, but the next second he made a crazy decision. He indicated that there was no such person as Titli at all, and his tone became sorrowful. He claimed that Hannah suffered from severe schizophrenia and, due to infertility, fantasized about having a 3-year-old daughter named Titli, but that child did not exist. It was just a doll. Such tearful acting was so realistic that even the 100% detective was fooled. "Please don't tell me. I'll tell you everything. I'll tell you everything. I won't tell you anything. I won't tell you anything. Please." In order to close the case as soon as possible, he directly made Sut sign a written statement. However, the appearance of the front desk employee, Nina, contradicted Sut's testimony. She claiming he was just pretending to cooperate with Hannah. However, the receptionist couldn't stand it anymore and said, "Pretending? Does buying milk for your child in the middle of the night also count as pretending? Besides, your child was crying the whole time. I received a complaint call at 2 a.m., and the security camera footage showed Panna comforting the child downstairs. Sut argued that it must have been another child crying on a different floor, not theirs. Our security team is on duty. The air froze completely. After the lie was exposed, Sut hid in the toilet and refused to come out for a long time. The police investigation report followed one after another. The surveillance showed that Titli was indeed crying at 2 a.m., and Panna was trying her husband and wife, I don't know you and Titli, tell them everything about your marriage troubles so they can find your daughter faster. Seeing this, I couldn't help but laugh. This scumbag Sut really played with fire and got burned this time. But these kinds of men often react quickly and are very clever. In just a few seconds, he came up with a plan and asked the detective for 2 minutes to talk to Panna alone. After the 3 police officers left, Sut very carefully closed the door and then looked at Panna behind him expressionlessly, and Panna did not avoid his gaze and got up to walk towards him. It was at this moment that Sut once again plot twist to the very end, piercing right through the skull. A typical Hindu psychological thriller masterpiece. Little Titli again never truly disappeared. What was truly lost was a woman shattered by trauma. This film is dedicated to every mother who has lost a child who never existed.